Hello and welcome to Morning Trade with Moneycontrol. I'm Sumaira Abidi and I'm here to help you navigate the trading day with actionable trading strategies, sectoral trends, and most importantly, your queries answered live during the course of the show. So please keep commenting on a live feed and we'll take up your queries with our guests. But before that, let's see what's making the news globally. Well, here's the global handover. It was another loss-making week on Wall Street as indices corrected for the 8th week out of the last 9. Employment data for the month of May has come in better than expected, with the US economy adding 3.9 lakh jobs despite fears of an impending recession. And in line with the US, it's a mixed start for stocks in the Asia-Pacific region as well. For the Indian market as well, the SGX Nifty indicates a slightly lower start below that 16,500 mark. Meanwhile, OPEC's planned output hike has failed to cool the rising crude prices. Brent crude has hit the $120 a barrel mark on expectations that higher output will do little to ease a tight supply situation, with demand set to rise as China eases their COVID-19 restrictions. And for our own market, the big cue this week is that the two-day Monetary Policy Committee meet will begin today after an off-cycle hike that we saw in May. While another rate hike is widely expected, all eyes remain on RBI's inflation projections and what more it can do to curb the impact of rising prices. So let's talk about how all of these cues will weigh in on the market, which are the stocks which will be in the spotlight today. Joining in is Raja Venkatraman, co-founder of NeoTrader. Hi Raja, morning, and thanks very much for joining in. I want to first start by talking about the market setup itself because, the mother market, which is the US, has had a weak showing last week, and we've seen strength returning now to the dollar index. Technically, how is our own market positioned, and, what do you expect this week?
Yeah, good morning, Sumaira. This entire market, what we are seeing right now is rebounding quite well. But then what really is happening is at higher levels, there is a consistent supply which we are witnessing. And as a result, we are unable to actually strut forward in a very decisive manner. So the overhang continues to be around 16,700 to 800, which we saw in the last week. And there we witnessed some supply. So it's going to be a similar case in this week too. And especially in this week, since we are having the RBI policy and everyone's expectation is there. But then what I've always seen in the market is what everyone expects does not happen. So everyone is expecting that the rate hike would come and the markets would once again correct. So everyone is a little cautious right now. And that's why we are witnessing stock-specific action. And that is going to be the theme of this week as well. And as far as the markets are concerned, upper bounds will continue to remain around 16,800. And at lower bounds, I feel that unless 16,300 is lost, one should continue to be a buy on dip and sell on rallies kind of an approach. It should be maintained on the indices. Well, stocks have got their own trajectory, and there are various corporate actions which keep happening. So that way you can participate. So that's the protocol which I would maintain for this week.
Fair enough, fair enough. So let's get into the stock-specific action then. Adani Transmission is going to be in the news today. The news here is that they have announced that they will be buying SR Power Transmission for about 1,900 crore rupees. And of course, this is going to add to their capacity, etc. Raja, the stock itself, how is it positioned, and what is the upside that you see?
So, the Adani Transmission went through a very good patch of up move. The entire Adani group did, but then Adani Transmission was almost tripled from 2022 lows. So now what we are seeing is a profit booking scenario, and currently the price has dipped down into important supports around 1,800. I envisage that this positive news flow would first stem the decline. And then I would really wait for 2,000 levels to cross before I start investing into Adani Transmission, because the momentum continues to be on the downside. And unless 1,800 holds and 2,000 crosses, I would not be a buyer in this at the moment.
Okay, as well, the other stock which will be in the news today is Poonawalla FinCorp. There was a SEBI investigation over here. But they were investigating whether the MD had indulged in sharing of some unpublished price-sensitive information when the deal with Magma FinCorp had taken place. Now the regulator says that they have given a clean chit to the MD, so it is, of course, a positive for him, but a positive for the company itself. Do you see a tick higher over here, Raja, today?
Yes, there could be some marginal tick you may witness because the stock is currently undergoing some consolidation. Yes, there was already the negative news flow was factored in, and that's why you saw the correction in the earlier part of this year. But now what I see is that the prices would begin to consolidate and not much upside is witnessed. Max upside towards the range of 280 is what I envisage at the moment.
What about, OMCs, etc.? I mean, given this spike in the crude oil prices, what is the impact you see over here? How could stocks move?
So, a spike in the crude oil will definitely benefit the OMCs. And amongst the OMCs, I find that BPCL is well positioned for some move here. And what I would be tracking is like if there is a recovery seen in BPCL, then that would be something which I would be tracking, and that could definitely be a good, support buy activity which you can witness. Because right now the crude oil is undergoing a lot of gyrations with Saudi Arabia stepping in and hiking the rate prices as well. So a lot of fluctuations are emerging, and OMCs would be a good area to track. And energy sector per se has been showing a lot of traction in the last in this entire year. Energy sector has been one of the most active ones. You can look at oil and gas. You can look at the power sector. So the energy sector is something which one should be tracking for the rest of the year as well.
Okay. We have a query coming in from Dr. Sanjay Tiwari, and he wants to know what is the call on Vedanta? What is the stock move that you see perhaps for this week?
If the metal sector has to be taken under consideration, the pain in the metal sector has not been done away yet, and the recent excise duty impact would continue to probe into the recovery. So right now, Vedanta has given a good rebound from the lower levels, but it still continues to be under some pressure. So what I would advise all those who are looking at metal names, because buy on dips is a very good strategy. Like they say, when the market sale is on, you should definitely go and buy. But then that ideology should not be applied to the metal sector, because at the moment metal sector is definitely witnessing some sharp sell-off. There are many people who were unable to actually exit or get off the train at the right moment, and they will be the ones who will be coming in. So if you're going to invest into metal names now, it would not be a good ploy.
Okay. The next query is on Axis Bank, sent in by Rohit Gupta. He wants to know what's your take on it. It's currently at those 677 levels. Is there some more weakness in store, you think?
Yeah. So, yes, if you are on the track of weakness, the answer is yes. Axis Bank is definitely at a very prime point for a sell-off. So right now, if you even take a look on the charts or the way the banking sector is positioned, it's quite tentative, and especially the charts of Axis Bank say that if it's not going to cross 700, there is going to be a lot of pain, and at the moment it is prime for a sell-off. So if you're looking from a negative point of view for this week, it could be a good shorting opportunity.
Okay, by the way, COVID-19 cases are rising in India, and, so naturally in terms of business for these diagnostic labs, it means that the COVID testing is going to go up once again. And, as a portion of their business, this had been declining over the last few weeks and months, but probably it's going to pick up again. So that is something that you might want to keep on your table. Raja, any of these diagnostic labs that you like?
The diagnostic labs are, the entire COVID scenario and the way the COVID is impacting the revenues of the diagnostic labs. It had its fair share of run, when the entire COVID-19 began. But now that impact has reduced quite drastically, and people have found various ways to deal with it. There are the magnanimity of the situation has declined to quite an extent, and I don't envisage that it will have the similar impact going forward. So yes, there may be some brief spurts here and there, but then I don't envisage a similar kind of move emerging for all the diagnostic labs in the next few months.
The other piece of news is that, of course, the brutal Indian summer is here, and naturally, on account of that, we are seeing that power demand is shooting up. So in May, the power demand was up 23% compared to last year, which is the highest that we've seen since April 2021. Raja, something like NTPC might be a beneficiary. What are the targets you have here?
Yeah, a very good point which you mentioned is the consumption of power increase. And NTPC, well, it's a slow mover, but then it has moved quite well considering its previous history. And I envisage that the entire setup of NTPC is looking quite positive. Yes, one can expect the targets towards the region of 185 in the next few weeks, because overall positioning is quite good. And if the momentum continues and if there is a recovery once again in the market after the initial news flow, I envisage that NTPC would be a good investing and a trading bet.
Okay, and final question from Siddhi Shivareddy wants to know what's your take on Nazara Tech?
See, Nazara Tech is in a very interesting space of mobile gaming, and it did do well post its listing. But what's really happening is right now the entire set of acquisitions is not tying in with the company's ideology. They had a lot of acquisitions too, and right now the entire stock is undergoing a major sell-off. It's gone below its listing low as well, which is not a very good sign. So ideally, any newly listed stock should not go below its listing low. Then it definitely gives it strikes a warning, and I would have a negative flag on this, and I would not be looking at it from an investment point of view.
All right, Raja, for the moment, thanks very much. We'll come back to you to talk about the stocks that you have on your radar. But for now, we'll focus on another important bit of news that affects you, me, and everybody who's watching, is that the government has cut the interest rate for the EPFO, the Employee Provident Fund scheme, to 8.1% from 8.5%. And in fact, they have been consistently declining. Suresh Sadagopan, founder of Ladder 7 Financial Services, joins in now. Hi, Suresh. Thanks very much for joining in. So this
Hi, Sumaira.
Morning, this rate cut that we have got is what, at a 4-decade low now. And, just want to understand that what is the reason that we are seeing this consistent cut in EPFO rates? At one point, I think they used to be, 11-12%, if not higher?
So I think the reasons for that are fairly easy and immediate to seek. If you look at the current situation, the banks are giving, say, maybe anywhere between 5.7 to 6.5, depending on which bank you're looking at. Now, as far as the government 10-year G6 are concerned, they have now shot up beyond 7%. So EPFO maintaining that 8.5% is actually a very tough call, in spite of the fact that they're also investing a bit in equity. Equity market, we all know, is turbulent. You don't know from year to year what kind of return you can get. So 8.1%, if you ask me, is actually a tough call for EPFO to maintain and deliver, because they also have costs. So they will have to probably generate close to maybe 9% to be able to deliver 8.1%. While I do agree that it is a you can say 4-decade low. I think since 1977 it has not seen this kind of level. But what can you do when the system itself, the interest rate in the system itself, is at 8.1? Is very low. 8.1 seems to be like a breath of fresh air.
Okay, but what about the other fixed income investments? Would EPF continue to be attractive, even in a rising interest rate scenario?
Yeah, what we have to understand is that 8.1 is for this particular year, financial year 2021-22. It is not again cast in stone. So when the interest rates scenario starts rising, Government of India and EPFO may increase that again. So because EPF continues to be a sensitive subject, and government will continue to maintain a healthy interest rate as far as that is concerned. So it will rise in the future if the interest rate trajectory is positive.
Okay. So does it make sense to, sort of take on that excess contribution that employees used to make voluntarily? Should they look at alternatives, or do they continue to add voluntarily to the CPF?
Sumaira, if you were to look at the whole situation today, I mean, we have to look at the risk and reward. If you look at low risk options, which are comparable to, let us say, an EPF, they will give you maybe 6, maybe 6.2, 6.3, that kind of a return. There are going to be certain counters which may give even 7% and more, but the risk starts going up. So considering that, 8.1 at this point in time is actually a very, very good bet. So if you factor the taxes at 30% plus cess and all that, it will still be 5.6, 5.7. So which is not really bad at this point. And like I said, going forward, it will again start going up. So all said and done, this is a very good place to put in money. So it's not a bad place at all. They can continue to contribute to whatever extent is comfortable for them in their overall financial situation.
But Suresh, that tax on interest earned on EPF contributions, if they exceed 2.5 lakhs, isn't that a dampener?
Yeah, absolutely, and that is the point I was talking about. I said that 30% applies to that.
Yes.
So the first 2.5 lakhs, I mean, of course, you will not be taxed, but the next any contribution above 2.5 lakhs is going to be taxed. So my thesis is that it is still a good place to invest, considering the extremely low level of risk, considering the fact that this is a long-term, say, retirement corpus that you're trying to build here, and considering also the fact that this will also go up if the interest rate scenario in the entire system goes up. So this is a one-year thing that we are actually witnessing, and I fully expect it to go up by maybe 0.5, 0.6% going forward if the interest rate scenario plays out like it is touted to be.
All right, Suresh, thanks very much for joining in and for explaining this entire concept. So that's the view on EPF. 8.1% still continues to remain very attractive. Raja Venkatraman, the co-founder of NeoTrader, is still with us. He's been answering all the queries which have been sent in. Raja, which are the top stocks that you have on your radar today?
Yeah, considering the way the market is panning out, I would like to have a buy as well as a sell approach. So that's the reason why I have chosen two stocks from the FNO basket today. And the first stock would be a long in Infosys. I would like to buy Infi because the entire IT pack is staging a nice rally. So I would be a buyer in Infosys around 1529 and place a stop at 1513 for a target of 1555. And the other stock on the short side would be a sell in Voltas below 1010 with a stop loss of 1023 for a target of 990.
Okay.
These are these two stocks which I am tracking for the day.
Okay, Raja, but we can't let you go just yet because there are some more queries that have come in on our live feed. First up from Joshua, he wants to know your take on DLF.
Yes, the entire real estate sector has been going through a rough patch. But then when you take a look at the charts of DLF, you can see that DLF has been affected amongst the most. And yes, is the leader and it did recover marginally. But then the overall, also considering the rate hike scenario, you can see that the stock has rallied into some strong resistance zones around 340 to 350 zone, and it's once again producing a sell-off. So if you're looking from a trading point of view, it's a good time to trade on the short side. If you are looking from say multi-day or a short-term investing point of view, it's not yet a good time to get into it.
Okay. And since you mentioned that you have a buy call on Infosys, your target was 1555. Even Jeffries this morning has given a longer term target of 1800 plus. So therefore, Mehboob Khan wants to know, what about Wipro?
Yeah, Wipro, unlike Infi, is a much more slower mover, and the entire Wipro, it moves in spurts. It moves in spurts. So Wipro is not yet well positioned as of now. IT pack itself, yes, it is showing some rally, but then Wipro is not yet showing signs of recovery yet. And I would not advise you to get into Wipro at the moment. It continues to remain on the weaker side. There is a mixed trend going on in IT, and I would prefer to place my bet on Infi rather than Wipro.
Okay, Veer S wants to know about Chambal Fertilizers. What to do here?
Chambal Fertilizer, again, it was having a fantastic run at the start of the year. But then what has really happened is that it is witnessing a correction right now. You can say it's profit booking. And also based on the government news flow, you can see that the pullback towards, you could expect some more decline if you're looking at it from an investment point of view. Around 325 would be a good zone to track Chambal Fertilizer. Any dip into that zone should definitely be used to track and initiate some long opportunity, because I envisage that that area around 320 to 330 would be a good support zone to buy Chambal Fertilizer.
Okay, and final on ITC, Zaid Raza Kalwani wants to know your view.
ITC, well, it has been the white elephant, and everyone thought that ITC will not move. And now when it started moving, everyone wants to track it. That's what I answer in all my shows, that ITC is something everyone wants to participate. And yes, it has been bucking the FMCG trend. It's on its own trip. And I would say that if ITC continues to be positive, you can look at ITC. Any pullbacks towards 250, 55 is also a good opportunity if you don't want to buy at current levels. I envisage a target of, as an investor, around 350 at the end of the year.
All right, Raja, have a good trading session. Thanks very much for joining in and for advising all our viewers. We'll wind up then on this edition of Morning Trade. Do stay tuned in. Markets with Santo and CJ comes up next.